What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. I have made 3 of these never built videos, and even more relating to never built projects in the amusement industry. And let me just say, you guys absolutely love these, and I love making them as well. There are so many more never built roller coaster projects that I want to talk about in the future, but for this video, we definitely have a good amount. Stay tuned to listen about a Cedar Point concept that was never built, and would have changed the face of the park forever, as well as a special announcement at the end regarding another never built video in the making. This is Cedar Flags, and today we are going to once again look at the best amusement attractions never built. We all know about Waldameer Park in Erie, Pennsylvania, home to the world famous Ravine Flyer 2, and many of us know about the Ravine Flyer that originally operated in the 1920s and 1930s. But did you know in 1992, before Ravine Flyer 2 existed, they were going to build a different but similar coaster. In the year 1992, they proposed a major wooden roller coaster that was going to open by 2000 with a nickname Ravine Flyer 2000. They contacted the Din Corporation, but quickly the Din Corporation split into a few different manufacturers, including Custom Coasters International, otherwise known as CCI. And CCI and Waldameer planned together to make an absolutely massive coaster project that would be the new star attraction at Waldameer. It would be Ravine Flyer 2000. There are definitely a few differences with Ravine Flyer 2 and Ravine Flyer 2000, which was the original CCI project, but nonetheless, this project was cancelled because, well, it was pushed back years and years by locals with noise concerns up until the year 2002 when CCI themselves went bankrupt, leaving the project in a state of limbo. Though CCI dismantled, Waldameer was determined to build a brand new wooden roller coaster. They contacted the Gravity Group, which was formed by people that were in CCI before the company dismantled. So basically, the same designers at a different time period. They decided to evolve with the modern times and make a more modern wooden coaster layout, featuring low to the ground airtime hills and a 90-degree turn. This element definitely is a better layout compared to the 1994 version, because even though there were some superior elements then, I think this element looks like it has better pacing. Anyways, a final layout was proposed in 2005 and the ride opened up finally in 2008, and still continues to thrill riders today. So on this series, we have talked about the Polar Coaster. We talked about the Polar Coaster that was going to go to Orlando Skyscraper, and we also talked about the Las Vegas Polar Coaster. But there were more Polar Coaster projects, including a Giga version of the Polar Coaster, and usually a Giga is taller, but this Giga Polar Coaster would be the smallest out of the proposed bunch, and would be located in Atlantic City, New Jersey. In May of 2015, a few months after the Orlando Skyscraper developers announced their project in Florida, they announced a brand new boardwalk park that they were supporting in Atlantic City. The boardwalk park would have small flats, be right on the ocean, and the highlight attraction would be an attraction that towers over the rest of the park, a polar coaster. At 350 feet tall, this would be the tallest roller coaster on the Jersey Shore. It looked pretty promising, and looked slightly different from the other polar coasters. With the rendering, it's obviously a lot smaller, and has an inversion at the end that is right over the boardwalk that leads to the ocean. Looks like a pretty compact boardwalk park, and I feel like this would be a pretty popular attraction. Anyways, it cost a price up to $138 million, but by 2018, no construction started. This was a year before it was supposed to open, so concerns were raised, and after they asked the developers, they said that they have not started and they are canceling the project. It was long gone by then, and is never going to happen, unfortunately. So, for all of you Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 fans out there, well, I got a little bit of a segment for you. Remember on the Hypercoaster, the Figure 8 loop? Well, did you know that this was going to actually be on a roller coaster? Yes, the element was proposed and patented by 1987, and the designer was George Putz. He went to Werner Stengel of Schwarzkopf and Intamin to propose this brand new model, and looking at the G-forces, he said no. So he decided to go to other companies, and the company Cedar accepted. After his collaboration with Cedar, they proposed a massive multi-inversion coaster layout. This is very similar to the Schwarzkopf looping layouts, but made by Cedar and featuring Immelmann's in a very unique element. Yes, this is the figure 8 loop right in the center right after the first drop. It consists of going up a half loop, going into a turn, and leading into a vertical loop, and then doing the whole rest of the element again. And, well, Werner was right, the G-forces were really extreme on this. There were no potential buyers, as it was very tough to construct something like this, and the project was quickly scrapped, and revived in the early 2000s by Roller Coaster Tycoon. Okay, fasten your seatbelts because this one's going to take a decent chunk out of this video. Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio is one of the most recognized theme parks on the planet. It has a plethora of amazing attractions, and all the way back in the 70s, they were making record-breaking attractions like Gemini and Corkscrew. But did you know in the early 70s, they were going to make a project so big and so innovative that it would have changed the history of the park from then on? Introducing Tomorrowland Cedar Point. Going back to the year 1955, Disneyland opened up in Southern California. This park was one of the most innovative parks to ever come out, completely changing the industry. Still today, it's known as one of the most universally known parks, and at the time, innovated so much in the coaster industry that the coaster industry nowadays would not be the same without Disneyland. Anyways, Cedar Point wanted to be the Disneyland of the Midwest. In fact, that was their slogan for a bit. Anyways, the park owners did a proposal in the early 70s that was inspired off of one of Disneyland's popular areas, Tomorrowland, an area themed after the future in the world of tomorrow. Tomorrowland, if built, would be taking place in between Corkscrew and Frontier Town. That whole area, the Dragster Midway, Magnum XL200's plot, and the Gemini Midway would be completely covered in futuristic buildings and attractions that were never built. Keep in mind this was because that Cedar Point had a very successful themed area that was recently built at the time, Frontier Town. So, what did Cedar Point's Tomorrowland feature? First off, the theming, obviously. But second off, it had a monorail. The monorail had two exits, and one of them was in the area, and the other one was at the very beginning of the area where the coaster's drive-in is today. They were also looking to build a clone of the Arrow Corkscrew. Now what do I mean by that? If you don't know, in the 70s, Arrow decided to reinvent the coaster inversion and have the first coasters that featured modern inversions. Rides like Corkscrew at Silverwood, formerly at Knott's Berry Farm, and Canopy Corkscrew, which is no longer in operation, are examples of this clone. Think of a Corkscrew clone at Cedar Point instead of their custom-built Arrow Corkscrew. Weird. The next attraction we could look at is a log flume. Now, Cedar Point absolutely loved their log flumes back in the day. They had Shoot the Rapids in the back of the park, not to be confused with the modern version, and at the front of the park, another log flume. Cedar Point, like I said, loved their log flumes, and they wanted a log flume in this area as well. This area also featured a brand new midway with a few more flat rides, a new carousel, and the highlight attraction on what is now Forbidden Frontier, a massive dueling wooden coaster built by International Amusement Devices. Think of something like Montaña Russa at La Fiera or Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is what it was going to be. It was going to be a massive dueling wooden coaster that would have taken the record as the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. It would have been built around 1977 and would have shattered many records. This would be the only attraction in this area that would be located on the island, and the setting of going over a little river would have been breathtaking. Now, I don't know why they would build a wooden roller coaster in a futuristic area, but it is Cedar Point. Anyways, like I said, this area never happened. But it kind of happened. What do I mean by that? Well, look at the modern day equivalent. Instead of a Corkscrew clone, we got Corkscrew around the same location where the Corkscrew clone was going to be. When it comes to the massive dueling roller coaster, we got Gemini. And when it comes to the Midway, well, we got the Midway. We got all of the paths in the same place, and that is the reason we could walk from Top Thrill Dragster to Steel Vengeance. Of course, there are a few differences, one of them being the fact that the massive dueling coaster was across the Midway from where it is today, and instead of being on the island, it is near the parking lot. Now, this would have definitely affected Cedar Point, and would have made the theming a lot bigger of a concern at the park. They did this because of prices and the fact that they wanted to focus more on roller coasters than theming, and leave all the theming to theme parks like Disney. So a little bit of a special announcement regarding my next Never Built video. My next Never Built video isn't going to be a compilation, but instead one absolutely massive project. There was a project that I found that's much bigger than even this Cedar Point expansion. And in my opinion, I don't think I could put it in one of these compilation videos as opposed to its own massive video. It was Southern America's biggest roller coaster collection and would have blown everyone away if were built. Well, keep track of that because that will be coming out next week. Anyways, what did you think about this video? Let me know down in the comments below. This is Cedar Flags and I will see you all later.